लोकमेधिगच्छति प्रकारं चित्तमेव भवति मण्डले चक्रापदनाति मे वेलागामण्डले चटाय मे खलु वेलागादेव पुरा एव प्रविणजनातिमार्चन्ते किञ्चिज्ञानो विश्वज्ञान
It aligns with our core value of preserving Vedas.
Nothing like this is taking place in the US, and it's amazing to see here.
But for me, this is such a satisfying, eye-opening experience to see how it is being nourished by several generations of Indians.
Even if anybody doesn't know the meaning of that, the very experience itself is so uplifting, because not many people can do this memorization, retention, recall.
இது 2-3 தடவை இது வரைக்கும் பரீட்சைக்கு வந்திருக்கோம். கிருஷ்ண யஜுர்வேதம் இந்த தடவை வந்து சம்ஹிதா பாகத்தில் 1ஆம் கண்டம் 2ஆம் கண்டம் 3ஆம் கண்டம் பரீட்சை தரோம்.
स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वं जिगातु भेषजम् शन्नो अस्तु द्विपदे शञ्चतुष्पदे ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः.
Vedokhilo Dharmamulam. This well-known quote from the Dharma Shastra purports that Veda is not only the source of our religion, but also source of all dimensions of knowledge and life, including Vyashti Dharma and Samashti Dharma, meaning individual and collective conduct for the sustenance of the planet. Ironically, both academic world and general public perception considers Veda as source text of the Hindu religion alone. But this is not the case. In Western societies, there is a conflict between religion and science, religion and humanity, and so on. For them, culture, tradition, religion, spirituality are not related to each other. Sometimes they even contradict each other. Therefore, they clearly distinguish between religious knowledge and other forms of knowledge. Due to the domination of this Western thought around the globe, modern Indians also consider Vedic knowledge as religious knowledge. With this religious labeling, Vedas are also believed to be in conflict with scientific thought, human intelligence, rationality, etc. As the old saying goes, an apple in the basket of fruits is generally known as just one more fruit in the basket. There are two kinds of learning Vedas. One, the academic way, and the other is Guru Parampara or Shruti Parampara. Across the globe, the academic way of Vedic studies is focused upon the form of knowledge and other frivolous aspects rather than practicing and adopting the knowledge in one's life. On the other hand, In Shruti Parampara, the focus is entirely upon practicing the knowledge and benefiting from it. In Shruti Parampara or oral tradition, one needs to be in Brahmacharya ashrama and follow the practices prescribed for it during the entire study period. Therefore, despite having Vedic study courses at hundreds of universities, if anybody wants to know how Shruti is pronounced and applied in practice, they have to approach practitioners of Shruti Parampara instead of going to universities. This Shruti Parampara or oral tradition is well protected even today by several individuals with the support of various private organizations. One name that is worth mentioning in golden letters in the history of 20th century Vedic education is Pujya Shri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Mahaswami of Kanchi Kamakoti Peetham. Swamiji has helped to fortify and nurture Shruti Parampara under adverse conditions throughout his life by initiating and inspiring people to establish several organizations. Om Charitable Trust is one such organization in Chennai. Since 2009, this organization is conducting annual inter-pathashala competitions for Vedic students and supporting them. Tamil Nadu is known as the land of Veda. We find a number of Vedic scholars, Shastra scholars, Agnihotra practitioners, Agama practitioners in Tamil Nadu as compared to any other part of the country. Despite the anti-spiritual political activities for several decades, Tamil Nadu has preserved its scientific spiritual practices in common man's day-to-day life. The team of Om Charitable Trust has been doing service of Veda for more than a decade. They travel across the country conducting regional level Vedic chanting competitions and bring the finalists to Chennai for a 3-day final competition. Now, the registration table is ready as the finalist students have started to arrive at the venue. Each Veda has several branches which are known as Shakha. For instance, Rig Veda has Shakala Shakha, Bashkala Shakha, Shankayana Shakha, and so on. Vedic students entirely learn one particular branch or Shakha in their lifetime. For the student, the Shakha is derived based upon his ancestry or Parampara, Gotra, and Sutra that he belongs to. Learning other Shakha or leaving the ancestral Shakha is prohibited by Dharma Shastra. This prohibition is imposed because each Shakha has its own sutra or a set of rules and practices that are to be practiced along with the study.
உங்கள் பேர் என்ன?
ஸ்ரீவத்சனா.
என்ன பண்ணுறீங்க?
வேதம் முடிச்சேன்.
எந்த வேதம்?
சாமவேதம்.
சாமவேதம். எந்த சாக்கா?
கௌதம சாக்கா.
ஒரு சாமம் சொல்ல முடியுமா?
பத்ரம் ஸ்ரேயா सर्वान् कामान् नजीमहि आयुर्विश्वं विश्वमायुषि प्रधान त्वष्टारादिनिधे स्मे दातं जीवे
मा शरदो वयन्ते.
I have become aware of this program, annual program, for the last 2 years, and I always make it a point to come and spend some time here. I must confess, I am an absolute illiterate in Sanskrit and our Vedas. I'm ashamed to admit it, that although I am 76, but for me this is such a satisfying, eye-opening experience to see how it is being nourished by several generations of Indians, and it's alive in the very young generation of such young people. I actually come every year to pay my homage to the little children and the teachers and our tradition, which has nurtured it in spite of all the odds. I take it as a pilgrimage.
After completing their registrations, the students assemble in a hall for the inaugural event, in which Sri Krishnamurti Shastri, an eminent scholar, explains the nuances of Vedic study to the people who are present at the venue.
Then Samaveda, then Shukla-Yajurveda, then Atharva-Veda. Now, when we started Shukla-Yajurveda, we came to know there are two branches. Karma Shaka was the one which was initially started. Then Madhyadana Shaka entries started coming in. And most of the people from North India belong to Madhyadana Shaka. So, as the years go on, we found more and more entries coming from North India, and today we have equal representation from both North and South.
The first day ends with the inauguration, and the next day the students wake up at 4 in the morning. After completing their Sandhya Vandanam and Agni Karya, they start doing a final round of revisions and preparation for the competition. Students introduce themselves by saying their particular gotra and pravara while holding their ears. Then they prostrate in front of the examiner as they do to their guru. Scholars belonging to all the shakas sit in different exam rooms as examiners. These examiners are aware of the parts or chapters to be examined for each student. They utter one or half line of a varga or anuvaka from the chapters to be tested. Students have to take the clue with that half line and take the mantra forward until the examiner asks him to stop or the varga ends. 2 or 3 questions will be asked for each adhyaya or chapter. Accurate pronunciation, madhurya, swaravyutpatti, confidence, hand signs, head shakes and many other aspects are observed and evaluated by the examiners. Udatta, Anudatta, Swarita and Dirgha Swarita are 4 major swaras in all Vedas. Samaveda has its own swara pattern which is the source of music. Samaveda has more than 1000 branches. But today we are left with only 3 living shakas, Ranayani, Kauthuma and Jaimini.
सहसो जाता वेदासं विप्रां जाता वेदासं यौ दयाः सुवध्वरः देवो देवाः जीया कृपा कृता विभ्राष्टिमनुषो ग्राहशोचिषः आजो वानाहस्याः सर्पीषः यज्ञैः प्रतिदहति
This competition is the largest gathering or competition of Vedic learning that I've ever seen, and I think many people will have seen, and it's amazing to see the level at which students are able to memorize and also be tested on where a single vakyam is said, and they have to have enough knowledge to say not only that vakyam but two stanzas ahead or two stanzas after, and something like that is amazing because that's nothing like this is taking place in the US, and it's amazing to see here.
The members of Om Charitable Trust work with the support of more than 50 volunteers and have been organizing this competition since 2009, with its reach expanding every year. With this expansion, more and more funds are required to support the students. This trust even reached out to many individual scholars who host students at their home and teach the Vedas with the support of some donors. These scholars are very reluctant to seek recognition and financial aid from the government, because with academic recognition and funds from the government, they will be compelled to follow the syllabus decided by those officials who have not studied in the traditional discipline.
We have, by God's grace, admitted our son. He's 11 now, in a Veda Pathshala just outside of Bangalore, and the hope is he gets to learn Yajurveda, which is where we come from, and more importantly Sanskrit in the proper way, which is the Panini's Ashtadhyayi. And the whole interest for us is giving education to our child which could help him get inspiration to contribute to the society.
I am a resident of Seattle, United States. I've been associated with this Om Charitable Trust for about a year now. My wife actually accidentally met Sudha Varadhan in Tirupati, and then as anything else, the common interests for our culture. How do we keep our culture going on to the next generation? That's always something which every one of us keeps thinking of. Culture doesn't stop with just our generation, but it has to go to the next generation, and they should be able to accept it and go on.
Mantra Brahmanayoho Veda Namadeyam. Mantra and Brahmana are known as Veda. Another name of the Veda is Trayi. Means Veda or Trayi consists of 3 kandas. That is why it is famously said, Kandatrayatmako Vedaha. The Samhita or collection of mantras is Upasana Kanda. Brahmana texts are Karma Kanda, and Upanishads are Jnana Kanda. These 3 kandas are the original text of the Veda. Hence, they are collectively called Mula. After completing the Mula, the Padapata and Kramapata are to be studied along with 8 Vikritis. Afterwards, they study the 6 limbs or Shadangas. Shiksha, Vyakarana, Chanda, Nirukta, Jyotisha and Kalpa are the 6 limbs. It takes approximately 6 or more years to complete the Mula, 3 years to learn the Vikritis, and 3 years fully dedicated time to study the 6 limbs. Along with this system of study or completing the Veda, they may study Sahitya, Darshanas or Itihasa Purana. There are 4 Upavedas in this stream of knowledge. Upavedas are generally for those who do not learn the Vedas completely in Shruti tradition. Dharma Shastra, with its vastness, is to be studied in addition to the Veda and to be applied throughout life. Source of this immense knowledge system is the Veda, and it is to be memorized and chanted in daily practices. This Vedic chanting, or Veda itself, is being considered as a heritage in recent times. Vedic chanting is recognized by the UNESCO as World Heritage. If we look at the definition of heritage, it's mainly about historical significance. Apart from providing a sense of belonging, historically significant things might not be useful or productive in today's time. The identity of heritage also removes the sacredness and turns it into a lifeless ornament which might kindle the pride in the heart of possessor. But Shruti is sacred and much greater than heritage because it produces results even today. To understand this, we have to check the root meaning of the word Veda. The Sanskrit root Vid produces three meanings: Vid, Jnane, Labhe, Satayam. Knowledge, advantage, and existence. These three aspects are universal and always relevant. Therefore, not only for the Hindus, but the Vedas is advantageous for the whole of mankind and always relevant. Therefore, Indians who are not yet influenced by Western ideas of tradition and culture don't consider Veda or Shruti Parampara as merely heritage. Instead, they regard it as Shabda Brahma, or divine entity that provides the means to fulfill their wishes in the form of yajna. The main purpose of the Veda is to facilitate various forms of yajna which sustains and flourishes life on the planet. Veda hi yagnartham abhipravartaha. This knowledge contained in the Shruti has come from a source or dimension which is beyond the axis of the sense organs and the intellect. Pratyakshena anumityava yastupayo nabudyate etam vidanti vedena tasmath vedasya vedata. It is the knowledge which is beyond the faculties of pratyaksha or anumana. Therefore, Indians consider Veda as apaurushaya, a sacred entity, and regard it as Brahman or verbal manifestation of the Creator himself. This knowledge has been interpreted and explained by many commentators, including modern academicians. Every such commentary is done considering only one of the dimensions of it. But there are three dimensions to it: Adhidaivika meaning, Adhibhautika meaning, and Adhyatmika meaning. Commentaries or interpretations with Trividha Drishti or three-dimensional meanings are very few. Apart from these three dimensions, Adhiyagniya meaning, or the interpretation from the context of yagna, is considered as real meaning in the tradition. Some sections of the society look at the Veda as a beautiful form of literature and look up to it. At the same time, they also look down upon those who practice the rituals prescribed in the Vedas and consider them to be ignorant. This attack on Vedic practices or rituals is the result of a big conspiracy which has impacted most of the urbanized Indians. Foreign ideas like "I am spiritual but not religious" also have played a major role in the destruction of the scientific culture of Vedic practices. Most of the mobile phone users are unaware of the science and technology based on which the phone functions, but they are not deprived of the benefit of it. It is not necessary for everyone to become a scientist to get the benefit of science. Similarly, Karma Kanda or the rituals are technologies beneficial for those who know how to use it. Fortunately, despite the invasions and anti-ritual propaganda, few sane voices and individual efforts have kept the Vedic practices alive here and there. We have not lost it completely yet.
प्रारब्धकर्मणां नाशः यावत् न भवति तावत् पर्यन्तं देहपातो न भवति तदेव अतः किं प्रारब्धकर्मणाम् उपभोगेन क्षयो यावत् नास्ति तावत् पर्यन्तं तस्य.
Since the Veda is sacred and manifestation of the divine, the person who has memorized it and lives by it is also considered divine. In the northern part of India, Vedic Pandits or Brahmins are referred to as Bhudevata or Bhudevji by the villagers even today. In South India, Vedamurti or Veda Brahmashri is used as a prefix to address the Vedic scholars and their worshipped. Urban cultures might have lost it, but Veda and Vedic Pandits are sacred for a large number of Indians. Om Charitable Trust is also aligned with this traditional knowledge. Therefore, they did a Pada Puja to all the scholars who were present at the venue, and many couples from Chennai were standing in queue to get this opportunity.
I've known Om Charitable Trust for almost a year and a half. I was introduced by a good friend of ours, and we got an opportunity to do Pada Puja to Ganapatis last year, and that itself was very energizing. And even if anybody doesn't know the meaning of that, the very experience itself is so uplifting.